want to stop doing weddings and still pay yourself well. But those two things don't exist at the same time, at least not right away. And the business owners who try to get both simultaneously, they usually end up with neither, burning out chasing a version of freedom that doesn't have a real plan behind it. I kept my salary very, very modest for years while Blush's profit grew. And I did this on purpose because that decision is the reason I have the freedom that I have now. If you've been trying to grow your income and step back from doing weddings and build a team all at once and it's not working, this episode is going to tell you exactly why and what actually to do instead. Hey there, CEO. Welcome back to the Wedding Pro CEO podcast. I'm Brandee, and if you're new here, I'm a business coach for wedding industry pros, and I help wedding business owners step into the CEO role so their business starts running more like a business and less like something held together with bubblegum and popsicle sticks. Today's conversation is one I've genuinely wanted to have for a while now, because I talk a lot about building a business that gives you freedom of time, freedom of money, and I believe truly that you can have both, but just not at the same time. And I think that one sentence changes everything. So I want to walk you through the actual build, the real timeline, what I gave up, in what order, and why. And then I want to give you a framework for thinking about your own business and your own trade-offs, because there's no one right answer here. What I want for you is to finish the episode with a clearer picture of what you actually want and what you're actually willing to pay for the success you say you want. That's the work that we're going to do today. So let me go back to the year that something broke open for me, because I think it's the most honest starting point. On paper, Blush looked like it was growing. It was thriving. We had over 150 weddings on the books, revenue was going up, I had team members working under me, but the structure of my team at that point was all contractors. And contractors, if you have them, you know, they're not employees. They don't have the autonomy to make decisions without you. They don't own outcomes the way someone on your team does. They do the work, but you're still the hub that everything runs through. So what I built was a bigger wheel with more spokes, and I was still the center. Every question came to me. Every client issue came to me. Every vendor problem, every scheduling conflict, every last minute panic from a bride who changed her seating chart at 10 p.m. the night before her wedding all came to me. I was managing a full client load of my own, 42 weddings that year personally, and managing a team who couldn't really operate without me. I wasn't scaling, I was just doing more. And I remember sitting in my car at the end of a 12-hour wedding day, and I know some of you have gone through this. I was completely spent, and I was thinking, this cannot be what scaling feels like. Because if this is it, I don't want any part of it. I had just built a bigger version of my original problem. More revenue, more people, but the same bottleneck, which was me. So I had to make a real decision. And I want to slow down here because this is the part that I never hear people talk about honestly. When I decided I wanted to stop doing weddings myself, I basically had two options in front of me. Option one, keep doing weddings, protect my current salary, make small changes around the edges, and hope things started to shift eventually. Or option two, stop doing weddings, build a real team that could operate without me, and accept that my salary was going to take a hit while I built. Personally, I chose option two, and I kept my salary very modest for many, many years. This wasn't because my business wasn't generating more. It was. The revenue was growing and the profitability was growing. But instead of pulling more out as a salary, I put that money back into hiring team members. And I wasn't just hiring bodies, I was hiring up. And that's the filter I was using for every single hire. This person has to completely remove something from my plate. Not just reduce it, not help me manage it, but remove it entirely. If I brought someone on and I was still involved in that area of the business, that wasn't a real hire. That was just adding a layer of management, which meant I traded one type of work for another. A real hire meant that that thing was no longer mine to think about. Not less mine, not mostly theirs, gone from my plate entirely. So what did this look like in practicality? It happened one role at a time. It wasn't one big hire that fixed everything. It was a slow progression. The first real hire freed me from day of coordination. Now, I'm a planner, so taking that basic level service that we do, that entry level service, off of my plate meant that that was freeing me from busy work. We were still doing it, we were still selling it, but I wasn't the person delivering it. This role meant I wasn't showing up to be the safety net on wedding day. They were the lead. They owned it from beginning of being sold until the end. I was no longer an option for this service, even when people asked. That was the first bag I put down. The next hire I brought on was someone who owned the training and the day-to-day operations for our planners, our team members. She handled questions, client issues, KPIs, quality control, networking. That was the second big bag that I put down. The next hire was someone who managed our associate team, handled our scheduling of our assistants, handled the contractor relationships, that layer of operations that was quietly eating hours out of my week off my plate. The last hire I made on my team at the time was someone who owned sales, which can often feel like the scariest one to give up because sales are the lifeblood of your business. But here's the thing, CEO, sales take so much of your time away from the things that are actually going to grow your business. That sounds crazy, right? Sales grow your business. Yes, but when you're wearing 17 different hats as the business owner, you aren't great at follow-up. You aren't great at getting those people to actually convert into a consultation. You aren't great at following up on contracts, at getting people to actually sign. You think you're the best in your company for selling, and you often aren't at this stage of business. Giving that to someone else that can own it, that can make that their only job to be focused on and hit those KPIs that you set for them is going to drastically change how great sales run in your business. Each one of these strategic hires felt like putting down a bag that I'd been carrying for so long, I forgot how heavy it was. And through it all, my salary stayed flat. And I want you to hear that again clearly. The business was making significantly more money. I was making way less than I could have on purpose because I knew the trade I was making. More money out of the business now meant a slower build. Slower build meant staying stuck for longer. And staying stuck for longer was the thing I was no longer willing to do. I chose a shorter term financial discomfort for the longer term freedom. And that was a conscious decision, not something that just happened overnight. And I'm not sharing that to impress you or to suggest that you have to do it the exact same way. I'm sharing it because I want you to see that freedom doesn't show up by accident. Someone actually had to pay a price for it. Now, here's the thing I didn't plan for and I didn't see coming. When I started removing myself from the day-to-day at Blush, opportunities started showing up that I never even could have noticed before. Because when you're buried in the day-to-day, you have no capacity to even look up. I was approached about managing a historic venue, a beautiful property that needed someone with event experience to run the operational side. It was a real opportunity and it became a meaningful additional revenue stream that eventually helped me start building my salary back up. But I can tell you with complete certainty, if I was still doing 42 weddings a year myself, still answering every text from every team member, still being the center of that wheel, I would have had to say no, because I wouldn't have even had the mental capacity to even consider it. And that's the thing that nobody tells you about building toward freedom. The freedom doesn't just change how you work inside your current business, it changes what you can see outside of it. Those additional revenue streams, those new opportunities, those things you can't even imagine right now because you're too deep in the doing. They exist. You just can't see them from where you're standing, so you're scared, and I get it. You have to build your way to a vantage point where the view starts to open up and you can start to see the possibilities of short-term pain for long-term gain. So let's talk about the trade itself, because I think this is where a lot of business owners get stuck. You cannot want time freedom and financial freedom at the exact same time without a season in between where you trade one for the other. One has to come first. And there are really only two things that you can trade, either time or money. If you want to stop doing weddings, you need people who will do them instead of you. Skilled people, people you trust, and bringing those people on costs money. That money has to come from somewhere, and in most small businesses, it comes from what you would have paid yourself, or it costs you time to build, train, and lead that team. And often it's gonna cost you both for a season. In that middle season, the one between where you are and where you wanna be, that season can be so disorienting. You're working hard and making less than you know you should be. You're watching other people do the work your business is known for. You're investing in a team that doesn't yet have the full capability of what you're building toward. And from the outside, and honestly from the inside too, it can feel like you're actually starting to move backward. But here's the thing, CEO. CEO. You're not moving backward. You're building. But you have to know that that's what you're doing. You have to have decided that that's the trade that you're making. Because if you haven't made that decision clearly, every month in that middle season is going to feel like you're failing. You'll be measuring yourself against a destination that you haven't truly committed to yet. I was listening to a conversation recently where someone made a point that I honestly haven't stopped thinking about, because it's the same conversation I have with so many of the business owners inside of our community. The conversation went like this: if you want cookies and you want a six-pack, but you just prefer cookies to a six-pack, the trade has already been made. You're just not admitting it yet. And the dissatisfaction doesn't come from choosing cookies. It comes from wanting cookies and wanting the six-pack without making the trade. And so many wedding business owners are living in that exact same tension. You want the freedom that you see in someone else's business, but you also want to keep everything exactly like it is. And neither of those things is wrong, but wanting both simultaneously without a plan to bridge them is not a strategy. It's just discomfort with no direction. The business owners I've seen actually get to the other side are the ones who looked honestly at the trade, decided it was worth it, and built toward it consistently. Don't hear that by meaning it was perfect, or it wasn't without doubt or hard months, but with a decision they made on purpose. So I want to give you something real to do with this conversation. Let me ask you 3 questions, and I want you to actually sit with these and not just nod your head through them. The first question is this: what do I actually want my business to look like in 3 years? Not what sounds good to say out loud or on social media, not what you think you should want because of what you've seen someone else build, but what do you want? Do you want to be at every wedding personally delivering the experience you built your reputation around? There's nothing wrong with that. That's a business worth building and a career worth having. If you love the craft, if you love showing up on wedding day, and that's part of what makes your work meaningful, you don't have to want to leave it. Or do you want to build a team that can run without you, even knowing that that means a financial season of building and a season of letting go? That's also a valid and worthy goal. Or maybe you want somewhere in between. You want fewer weddings, a smaller, more selective client list, a team that handles most of it while you stay involved in the parts that you actually love. All of those are real answers, but you have to pick one and write it down. A vague wish for more freedom someday isn't a plan. You need to be specific. What does your business actually look like? What are you doing and what are you not doing? Who's on your team? What are you paying yourself? Get specific and write it down, because that's where the planning actually starts. The second question is, what am I actually willing to trade? I want you to look at the 3-year version that you just wrote down and ask yourself honestly, what is the path between now and then cost me? If you want to stop doing weddings, are you willing to hold your salary lower than you could pull right now so that you can put money back into hiring? And for how long are you willing to do that? If you want to grow the team, are you willing to invest time into training, culture, and leadership? Because building a team takes time, and time is the other currency. And if you want to remove yourself from client work altogether, are you willing to hand off relationships that you've built and trust that someone else can care for your clients as well as you did? Those are real trades, CEO, and I'm not going to tell you whether any of them are worth it for you. That's yours to decide. But I want you to look at them clearly and not pretend that they don't exist. Not tell yourself that it's going to be easier than it actually is. Because business owners who go into the build season without seeing the real cost usually end up feeling blindsided. And a blindsided business owner tends to retreat back to what's comfortable right when the build starts to take hold. I want you to know what it costs and decide if you're paying it, and then I want you to go all into that plan. And the third question is the one that most people skip entirely, and it's, what season am I in right now? This is the one that matters more than you realize, because you might be in a season where trading family time is genuinely off the table. Maybe your kids are young and these years are fleeting. Maybe you're caring for a parent, or maybe your marriage needs your presence in a way that a heavy build season would jeopardize. That doesn't make you a failure. That's actually wisdom. Your business can still grow, your business can still develop. You just have to be honest about the pace that your life can actually support right now and build a plan that fits that reality instead of fighting against it. Or you might be in a season where you have more capacity than you've had in years. The kids are older and more independent, your home life feels solid, and maybe this is the season you go all in on the build. If that's where you are, use it. Seasons change. I've been through all of them. My oldest was 1 year old when I started my business, and now she's almost 21, which feels hard to believe, but I know what it's like to build through seasons of little kids and marriage changing and life changing. Seasons change. Know which one you're in and what you're actually capable of your business handling right now. Because the business strategy that makes sense in a season of high capacity is different from the strategy that makes sense when your personal life needs a lot of you right now. Neither one of them is wrong. They're just different plans. Know your season and build accordingly. Okay, CEO, let's pull this all together. If you take one thing from this episode today, I want it to be this. The freedom you see in someone else's business had a price. It was paid in time, in money, in hard seasons of building before the results showed up. It didn't arrive before the work. It arrived because of the work. You can't have time freedom and financial freedom simultaneously without a season of intentional trade in between. That season is real. It's uncomfortable. It can feel like you're going backward when you're actually building forward. There's no wrong answer about what you want your business to be. You don't have to want what I wanted. You don't have to want what anyone in your industry has built. But not deciding is the one path that guarantees that you will feel like you're failing on a daily basis. So decide, CEO. Decide what you actually want in 3 years. Decide what trade you're willing to make. Decide what season you're in. And then I want you to build toward your answer, not someone else's. I built Blush to the point where I have a CEO that runs it. I haven't personally worked a wedding in years, and I still pay myself from that business. It took deliberate choices over a long time, including keeping my salary very modest for a very long time while Blush grew, because I was investing in the people who would eventually give me the freedom that I have now. And every one of those choices I made was a trade. Every single one of them was worth it, but I made them on purpose, and that's what made the difference in what you see that I have now. If you're sitting with this and you're thinking, okay, I want to figure out what my version of this actually looks like, I want to invite you into conversation with my team. We do something called a gap assessment. It's a real conversation where we look at where your business is right now, where you want it to go, and what's actually standing between you and getting there. It's not a presentation, it's a real conversation about your specific business. And if we know we can help you build the business that you're looking for, we'll walk you through what it looks like to work with our team. Just head over to weddingproceo.com/application, fill out a few short questions, and grab a time that works for you. And CEO, if you got any value out of this episode, please leave us a comment, and share this with another business owner who needs to hear it. I'll see you next time. Great. You're just gonna sit there and stare at me. Decision. Yeah. Bear with me.